Okay, Stephanie, what's the latest?
Okay. So I'm not gonna lie. I went to bed last night feeling like, okay, this isn't gonna, it's gonna be bad, but it's not worst case scenario. I woke up today and I'm like freaking out because as of last night, it had shifted more south, which terrible for everyone south of us, but better for where I'm at and better for Tampa Bay. Um, And then they still said, even though it's a Cat 5, once it makes landfall, it'll be a Cat 3. This morning, the 5 a.m. update is it is hanging in strong as a Cat 5, will probably be a Cat 4, and it has shifted a little bit north. So it's no longer like right on Tampa Bay right now. Fucking thing keeps shifting. And 40 to 60 miles north of like where the eye is going to hit is where there's going to be the most rainfall, which is like where I am. So I'm freaking out a little bit. I feel like this is not good. It's not losing intensity. It's a fucking anomaly.
When is it expected to hit?
Um Tonight. So I don't know
Okay.
the exact time. I want to say like 2 a.m. is when the last part showed like right over our area. So it should be over by, I believe, by this time tomorrow. So I was thinking, as long as my kids aren't freaking out, like hopefully they'll be sound asleep. If they're not freaking out, I'm just gonna get out my phone and start recording it because for anyone who's ever like not been in a hurricane, the only major hurricane here since we've lived here that I was in was Irma. That was expected to be a Cat 4 and it only ended up being a Cat 1. So like that gives me a little bit of hope, but even with a Cat 1, it is terrifying. Like the sounds you hear is like insane. I mean, it's like a freight train going through the shutters, like everything on the house shakes. It's a scary, scary thing. So I'm gonna try to document it if I can. If I maybe I'll be passed out. That would be great. But I
God.
know I'm not. I'm gonna be a freaking nervous wreck. My anxiety is like through the roof. And I've been so calm and mellow until like I woke up this morning.
I'm surprised you slept last night because I don't know that I would have. And I've never been through a hurricane. Like I've I've experienced, heavy winds and stuff like that in the area of Texas where I live. But, like I said, Friday, I think I grew up with earthquakes, never experienced a hurricane or even a tornado. So yeah, I'm scared
Yeah.
for you.
Well, you asked me the other day, like, which is worse? Because I've lived in in Southern Illinois where there were like massive tornadoes all the time and there's no warning. So it's like a hurricane where you have all this warning or a tornado where it's just no warning at all. And it's like, as of right now, I would say a hurricane because like knowing it's like, yes, you can prep and that's important, but I have been in a constant state of like fight or flight
Yeah.
since like Sunday. And I think that's why I was so mellow. I'm just so like exhausted and like my nerves are shot. But now the panic is sinking in. And it's like, it's coming and you know
Yeah.
how severe it's going to be. And it is like misery knowing because you're just waiting and like knowing you're going to get slammed and it sucks. It's not good. And at least with the tornado, it was like over within a few minutes and you didn't even know it was coming. And, you know,
Yeah, like how long does a hurricane even last? Like
it
not the
totally depends.
aftermath, but really, okay.
Totally depends. Like, I want to say it was Irma. I had friends out in like Central Florida, which is where it like came to a standstill. And the freaking eye was like over their house for hours.
Oh my God.
Hours. Now, this one is smaller. It's a small, very intense storm. But since it's smaller, it's supposed to move quicker. So it should not be, like hanging out too long. But again, nothing is predictable. Like every single hurricane I've been through, they say one thing and it almost never does exactly that. And so who knows? But hopefully, since it's smaller, it'll go through pretty quick.
Yeah, but even in what it's been over 2 years that we've been doing this podcast, and you've had hurricanes come through, and I've never seen you stressed out about them before.
The
So,
last one I stressed out about was Irma, and that was years ago.
yeah.
And after that, even though it ended up being a cat one, like the panic of knowing and having that anxiety, I told my mom, I was like, I'm never going through this again and I will evacuate. And so, like I said, I was debating on it. And what pisses me off is like every time they go from not being worried at all to like full blown panic mode, and people panic and take all the gas. And then you have people posting pictures of like 75 and houses stand still. And that's scary to me too. Like evacuating is not like easy breezy. It's scary. You can get in car wrecks. People are panicking. There's no gas. So like it's not like it's just an easy option. And like I followed what they said. They said if you are in an evacuation zone, you have to leave. You will not survive. You have to go. If you're in a home built after 2004, stay put. You'll be fine. Like you're going to have damage, but you should be safe because all the homes are to code. So that's what I did. Kind of regretting that at the moment. I'm not going to lie, but I mean, what are you going to do? Learn from it. And next time I'm fucking evacuating. I don't care if I have to spend like thousands of dollars on plane tickets. I will get the hell out of Dodge.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, yeah, I know. It's all hitting me now. Gone
Yeah.
is like the cool, calm
The
Stephanie.
calm. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to get it out now though before my kids wake up because I don't want them to panic. They have like
Yeah.
no idea what's going on.
Well,
Well, Alexis does, but
I imagine you've just got like the news on the background constantly, right? Like weather
I've got my
updates
two
and all that.
people, my Mike's weather page and Dennis Phillips, and thank God for social media because I can just keep refreshing and they update all the time. They're like constantly going live and they're the most accurate. They're who everyone trusts. So I just keep watching. Um, they've both been quiet, but they were up all night, so they probably like are sleeping. So I need to like just chill. And I probably don't need to look at it because if it keeps shifting and staying intense, like I almost don't even want to know. You know what I mean? Because what are you going to do? There's nothing you could do at this
Yeah.
point.
No, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Mm.
So anyhow, okay. Speaking of the two people you trust, so everyone in Florida, regardless of where you are in Florida, you follow Mike's weather page. He's like an independent meteorologist. He gets all of his funding like from his viewers, but he is so on it, so reliable, so spot on. So we follow him. And then here in Tampa, and I think people outside of Tampa, like even people up in like New York and New Jersey, like follow him because I see them in the comment section. But Dennis Phillips is right in Tampa. He's a Tampa meteorologist. And we all love the guy. Like he's so good at staying calm. He has like all of these rules that you follow for hurricanes that kind of keep people like, okay, as long as we follow these rules, we'll be okay. Rule number 7 is don't start freaking out until Dennis starts freaking out. Well, I'm fucking freaking out. So you're going to hear from Dennis freaking out a little bit in this clip. So hold on one sec. Let me pull it up.
Say that as a Floridian who knows Florida weather can do some crazy stuff. But what I saw today is something I have not seen before. Behind me is a hurricane that went from a tropical storm to a category 5, 180-mile-an-hour wind storm in a matter of less than 24 hours. And by the way, I just checked recon. The pressure is actually dropped below 900 millibars. So it is coming in on one of the, or if not one of the strongest hurricane ever to form in the Northern Hemisphere.
Okay, so that's
Wow.
Dennis freaking out, and he's never, ever like that. But it went from a tropical storm to a Cat 5. Some people are saying maybe it's more than a Cat 5, and we just
I was
can't
gonna say,
measure it.
is there anything higher than a Cat 5?
No, not that
Okay.
we've ever seen in history ever.
God. That's so
So, yeah.
scary. And
it's very scary. Like, how is this not weather manipulation though, when in less than 24 hours, it goes from a tropical storm to a Cat 5? Like, that is a huge, huge jump. It is unheard of. It's absolutely like an anomaly. One of the many.
yeah, I was reading a Business Insider article yesterday, and I guess your mayor, the mayor of Tampa, she was asked, like, I guess her name's Jane Castor,
Mhm.
and she was being interviewed and she was asked, like, okay, what's your message for people who believe that they can just, stay in Tampa and ride it out? And her response was, quote, "This is literally catastrophic. And I can say without any dramatization whatsoever, if you choose to stay in one of the evacuation areas, you're gonna die. Anyone who was born and raised in the Tampa Bay area has never seen anything like this," end quote. Like, that's a fucking frightening comment. And my first thought was, well, Stephanie, you told me you're staying in Tampa, right?
Yeah, well, so I always say I'm in Tampa. I am like literally on the border of Tampa. It's called Lutz. So it's just north of Tampa. But I don't really like Jane Castor, but I totally agree with what she did there, because you have people that will fucking stay and ride it out, and you can't. You cannot. Like, Tampa is pretty much all in a major flood zone. And what happens, just for everyone that's like not familiar with the area, even when it rains, like in the summer when we get those big rainfalls, all the streets flood just with rain. Like, it is not a good place to be from water. So I am not in like that part of Tampa. I am actually on higher ground, and my area is where the people on the coast come to evacuate. Like, I'm not
Oh,
even in an evacuation zone. It's like not even a zone, because it's like literally the best place you could be in terms of flooding. So no flood zone, no evacuation zone. And so they say like anyone who's not there should stay put. And that is important, because when everyone leaves, even the people that don't need to, that's when you have all these issues with people running
yeah.
out of gas, and like the roads are crazy. But my daughter's school is actually a shelter, and it's literally right down the road, like 1 minute drive that way. So that, like, it gives me peace of mind knowing, okay, this is where people are evacuating. Last night we went and we delivered pillows and blankets, and like the military was there helping and like setting up supplies. So that made me feel good. Kind of like, okay, this is where we're going to help people, not where we're going to be like in the middle of the catastrophe, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. But in any event, it gave me peace of mind. And my house, like the whole bottom floor is made of pure concrete. So
Okay.
like I feel like it's pretty solid. Um, but anyhow, like everyone in my neighborhood, all of my friends except for one are here and staying. So it's not like we're just like crazy people. Like, we're all staying in this area. But like I said, most of Tampa is closer to the water. And I will never forget when I first moved to Florida, my boss at the time, super nice guy, and he explained, he's like, we're all waiting for this hurricane. Like, you don't have to worry about hurricanes, but if it ever comes up through the Gulf and the water is hot enough and it goes into the bay, all of Tampa will be under 12 feet of water. 12
Holy
feet. That was
shit.
the worry, right? Now they're saying 10 to 15 feet. 15 feet. Like,
Wow.
imagine what that is. Like, Tampa is gone at that point. It's gone. Like, you're not going to just like, it's not going to go back to normal. So that's what's freaking me out. I will say it's currently showing like slightly south of the bay, and which means I'm north of it. That is the best place you can be. You don't want to be south of the hurricane. That's where the surge comes. So I am north. So they're thinking possibly Tampa could be saved, possibly. But again, you don't want to be there, because the other option is 15 feet of water. And no, you will not survive that. Like, you just won't.
Yeah.
And they said, even if you did, like, no one's going to be able to come rescue you. It's all, like, you're in the ocean at that point. So, like I said, it shifted south, which is why I went to bed feeling like, okay, I can sleep tonight. And that's horrible for Sarasota. I feel so bad for anyone living in Sarasota. Every freaking hurricane it shifts away from Tampa and it either goes into the Panhandle or like Sarasota, Fort Myers gets slammed. So they're probably all freaking out now because it's headed right towards them. But again, like I said, we don't know. We just don't know until it actually hits because these things are not like 100%. And like I said, every hurricane has shifted last minute in some way, shape, or form. And like Tampa somehow always gets like saved from it.
Yeah.
Like the last one that was supposed to be bad, I was like, I'm evacuating. So we went to the other side of Florida and they got it worse. Like
I
there was a
remember that.
tornado.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember that. Yeah.
And my dad was like, yeah, it's fine here. It's like sunny. And I'm like, fuck. But did I ever tell you about like this whole thing that everyone says here that Tampa and St. Pete, like this whole bay is like sacred land? Did I ever
No.
tell you that story?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so like this is like a local legend. And they say that it's old Indian burial grounds that's like spiritually protected or something. And that's why every major hurricane in the past 100 years shifts away from Tampa last minute. Every single one, it'll look like it's going to hit us directly, and then it does something wonky and shifts. So with that being said, though, like every meteorologist that I trust is super worried and they're like, this is the one, this is the storm of the century, you know, like we are long overdue for a massive hurricane to hit Tampa. And so what I have to worry about, like where I'm at, is the wind and like the tornadoes that spin off of the hurricane. But
Wait, you get both tornadoes and hurricanes there?
yeah, so like the
Oh, God.
tornadoes aren't like the Midwest tornadoes. They're like small funnels.
Okay.
So they will like damage your roof and stuff, but it's not like they level a whole town typically. I mean, I don't know what's possible right now. I'm just saying what I've seen in the past. And this is clearly like different from anything I've ever seen. But that is a worry. And the wind, I mean, the wind, we're talking like 130-mile-per-hour winds. Like this is insane. And so they always say like you should run from water and you should hide from wind. And so like we have everyone in the neighborhood, you put shutters on your windows, and that way if like a tree or something hits the window, it's not going to come in like to your like through your house. The house was built after 2004. So they had like a massive hurricane in 2004 and they changed all the permitting where all the windows have to hold for a Cat 3 hurricane and the roof is harnessed down. Now they're saying a Cat 4. So I don't fucking know, but hopefully we'll be okay. But I'm going to go over to my parents because we're actually worried at my house with trees falling. We have like a lot of big trees and the ground right now is already so saturated. They're saying trees are just going to like topple over and some areas are going to see 20 inches of rain like instantly. Like it's just going to pour down. They don't know what area, but probably this area. They're thinking it's going to be north. So anyhow, yeah, it's still a Cat 5. Hopefully it goes down to a Cat 4. I was hoping for a Cat 3, but now I just hope it goes down to a Cat 4. That's when like the siding and stuff starts ripping off the house. So like not good, not good. And my husband is at work right now at the hospital. He has to stay till Friday and his hospital is literally on the water. On the water.
How is it not closed if it's on the water?
I mean, it's an 8-story hospital. So like, and it's pure concrete and they have the generators. It's probably one of the best places to be, but I don't know. I mean, that's what they say, but I don't know. It's like right on the water. And then I'm thinking, okay, so you're 8 stories, but then what happens when everything floods and you can't leave? Your car is underwater, like, and you're out there, you know, so I'm not liking that. So anyhow, I'm going to take the kids and go to my parents. They live like literally right down the street. So that way, at least I have some like moral support when it comes through.
Well, you're going to have to keep me posted as much as you can. And then I'll realize when I don't hear from you anymore.
Yeah, because you'll be awake.
Yeah.
So I probably will be talking to you nonstop just to get my mind off of it and have some like moral support because everyone else will be asleep except for my Florida friends will probably be freaking out too.
My mom keeps asking me how you're doing. She's like, is
Oh, your
Stephanie
mom
okay?
is so
Is everything
sweet.
okay? She
Thank you,
is.
Tara's mom. What's your mom's name?
Her name's Carol.
Thanks, Carol. You're so sweet. Thank you.
Okay, I got to transition to a conspiracy question for you because my husband sent me all these videos of people asking Alexa about Hurricane Milton, and they're all getting answers about it like it already happened. It was like Hurricane Milton was a category 5 in October of 2004 that caused blah, 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 blah. And it's like, what the fuck?
We need to do like a whole AI episode on this because it does that all the time where it will like predict things. And but is it predicting things or like because the whole job of Alexa is to scour the internet
Mhm.
and it's supposed to say that didn't happen yet. So we don't have information. So it's like, is there's information on this somewhere, like on hurricane seeding, maybe? I don't know. But like, yeah, it's freaking me out. That's
It's
not
creepy.
good. It's super creepy. Um, yeah, I posted from our last episode like the conspiracy about, the weird flight patterns inside the hurricane, and I put it on TikTok, and I kind of expected people are going to like roll their eyes at it, but no, like it went viral and all the comments are agreeing. Like
I
literally
read them.
everyone.
Yeah, I
It's
read the
crazy.
comments. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
Like
this is awesome.
there were even people that were a little skeptical, but they're like, yeah, this sure does sound strange. Like something's not right. Like even the skeptics. And you had one guy that commented that after those flight patterns in the hurricane, satellite showed the storm pulsating. Like, what in the
Oh
world? I
my
mean,
goodness.
are you kidding me? That is absolutely terrifying. And then, so something else strange that I guess could be a conspiracy or whatever, but my friend sent me this TikTok video, and it's of a girl who's in Florida, and her car started acting like all crazy, and the electrical part of the car wasn't working. So she called CarMax. I guess that's where she got the car. They said that they had been receiving calls nonstop all day about the same issue. And according to the person that she talked to at CarMax, they were like, yeah, it's something with the storm that's messing with the electrical part of cars, like already before it
Wow.
even hits. And normally I'd roll my eyes at a video like this. But the thing is, my dad is having the same problem with his truck. And like my dad knows cars, like he's worked on them his whole life. And he's like, something weird is happening with the electrical system of the truck. Like it's doing weird things and acting all wonky. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So, like, again, there's just so many weird things that we've never seen before happening with the storm.
Yeah, I guess there was even like weird shit happening when what did it hit? It's like moving across the coast and like went by Cancun, and people were like reporting really strange lightning footage and saying like this storm isn't normal. It was like forked tongue lightning, like creepy kind of weird shit like that, and people were saying I've never seen lightning like this before, and there's like a different kind of energy with this storm. And so it's not just like people here that are thinking it's fucking weird. It's like universal, it's
Yeah.
fucking strange.
Yeah. Oh my God. That doesn't make me feel good.
Well, let me tell you a positive feel good story then.
Okay. Yes. Please do. Please do.
I don't know if you've seen much of this on social media, but we were talking last week about how, the American people, they're coming together and they're helping each other in North Carolina with the aftermath of Helene because FEMA has basically been a shit show. And I saw there's this group of volunteers. They call themselves, well, they're called the Savage Freedoms Relief Operation, but I guess at this point they're just called the Redneck Air Force. And I first read about them in the New York Post. And it's this group of like current and former military members. They're running a full on like rescue, reconnaissance, and supply mission operation. And they're running it out of a Harley Davidson dealership, which is really cool. And basically, they just got tired of waiting for the federal government to get their shit together. So they've decided, fuck it, we're going to take care of business ourselves. And they started by surveying road damage. This was the group that was going door to door on horseback. And they now have like a full on military scale operation that's seemingly functioning like way better than our military is. And they have a fleet of 35 helicopters. They're all private helicopters. All the pilots are like off duty and retired military. They've got like crop duster pilots, helicopter tour guides, special ops pilots. They've got firefighters, paramedics, nurse practitioners. There's even a licensed physician on their team. And they've partnered with a local pharmacy that's been filling prescriptions for people who are stranded in the mountains. And they have like a full-on intelligence operation going on where they have volunteers who just like are constantly on social media looking for updates and information. And then they compile everything into a shared file and it's constantly being updated. So they find out what like the priority missions are and what kind of resources and supplies they need. And this group's using their own aircraft to fly these doctors and medicine and generators and fuel and food to all these residents who are isolated in the mountains for what, like 2 weeks now. And they are also getting help from an aviation company in Tennessee that's flying missions for them. And one of the things I think is really awesome is this group is being supported entirely by donations. They've raised almost $200,000. One of the guys who started up the group, his name is Adam Smith, and he is a former Green Beret. And apparently the operation is running so well that they don't want any help from FEMA. And he told the Post, he said, quote, "Nobody out here wants the federal agencies to come in. FEMA has walked into operation centers like this and has attempted to just take over and tell them what they're doing is illegal and they're not allowed to keep going. I've seen it firsthand in this area. I've respectfully told FEMA individuals on a couple of different occasions, don't come to our location. We don't want your help," end quote. So I want to play this clip that I saw on News Nation where they're talking about this operation and what FEMA had to say.
Carolina, just outside of Asheville, one of the hardest hit areas, with an update on the recovery efforts and also the federal response so far. Rich, what have you seen today?
Hi, Marnie. Well, I'm here in what a place I'm calling Central Command. Basically, it's a heliport that they've a makeshift heliport where literally 30 helicopters have come in and out this morning. It's all volunteer. Over my shoulder on this side, which you can't see, is hundreds of volunteers, mostly special ops veterans of various parts of our military, all come here in Swannanoa, North Carolina to help. It's like a hive of activity. Right now is actually a quiet period, but these choppers are going in, lifting in aid to residents over these mountains that are cut off from roads. They're getting the work done here, I gotta say. But I want to, yesterday, FEMA gave a press conference and came out with certain messaging that I want you to hear. This is the administrator just yesterday.
People that have been impacted are afraid to apply for our assistance that then they can get a hotel room. They can get reimbursement for some of the costs or damages to their home. If I can't get them to apply, I can't give them the money and the resources that they're eligible for. And we're hearing that people are afraid to apply for the assistance. So we need them to know. I've heard rumors that if you take our $750 and don't pay it back, we're going to take your home. Absolutely false.
Now, I spoke to the men and women running this operation here. The man in charge is Adam Smith. He's a former Green Beret, lives not too far from here. He says, look, we have what we're doing here and what we're seeing here is completely different than what you're hearing from FEMA administrators and federal officials. Here he is in his own words. Take a listen. How would you characterize the federal response here? How has it been since the beginning?
Incompetent, if we're talking about broadly speaking. Limited to no personnel. Once they did get here, they put themselves in positions, obviously, to try and create connections or contact or rapport or whatever it might be. But in the process, there's not been dedicated assistance or support. I've not seen one FEMA individual come through this location. I've not seen one FEMA truck in this town.
Now, I also
Okay. So clearly what our government's telling us and what is happening still continues to be two completely different stories. But I just think it's so cool that this group has come together to help their community.
Yeah, like that's amazing. That's like the silver lining because, you know, it's like, yeah, we have the Biden-Harris administration, but we also have a lot of amazing Americans that are going to stand up for one another. And it just gives me hope, you know, that there's people out there that are willing to take a stand and tell FEMA, like, get out of here. You know, we're not going to just lie down and let you like ruin things, and they get stuff done. And I feel like here in Florida, Governor DeSantis is one of those people. Like, he is so on top of things. I am like, that's one piece of mind during this hurricane is I know he will take no shit from FEMA whatsoever. And he's already not. So I can't remember if I talked about this on the episode the other day, but FEMA shut down all the landfill sites after Helene so that people couldn't go dump the debris that was like all over the place from Helene. And they said, well, don't worry, we'll come and clear the debris. And they were telling people like it'll be picked up over the course of the year. Like,
What?
are you kidding? Ridiculous, you know? So DeSantis, as soon as like we start hearing about Milton, he's like, no. And he brought the National Guard in to have it cleaned up. And get this, one of the landfill companies put up a fence to try to go like against DeSantis and not let the National Guard come and like dump the debris. So DeSantis had the state police go there and rip the fence down.
Hell yeah.
Fucking love this guy. And like that is why it is so important to have a good governor and a strong leader. When you get desperate and when there is something really bad about to happen, you want someone like that in charge. Like
Yeah.
it absolutely like gives me peace of mind. But I was thinking about it, like, could you imagine Newsom or Tim Walz in that situation if that happened in their state? Like, they'd probably threaten to arrest the people that are clearing the debris.
That's what I was just going to say. They would be making arrests for people trying to clean up.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like if FEMA tried to pull the same bullshit in Florida that they're doing in North Carolina, I think DeSantis would have the guard in here like so quickly and just tell him to fuck off. Like, I don't think he's going to lay down and let them do that. So real quick, one thing about FEMA that I just heard like right before we started recording is I guess for Florida, there is a ton of funds that were never used that were allocated from past hurricanes. But FEMA is saying, well, the time has expired to use those funds. And so like,
where are they then?
exactly.
Because I'm sure the money's still there. Like, where did it go?
Or is it not? And did they launder it for whatever, illegals or whatever? But I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And then you have Kamala talking shit about DeSantis. And I'm not going to play the clip because there's a freaking helicopter or something in the background, so you can barely hear her, but she is like shit talking him, saying he's playing political games and everything else because he's not answering her phone calls. So I'm going to play the clip of what DeSantis says in response.
Focus on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish is her trying to blunder into this. No. And here's the thing. She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the president of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local governments. And I will say this, I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got peoples whose lives are on the line. I've got peoples whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Yeah, you don't mess with DeSantis, okay? He will call you out on it and take no shit. So then I just heard this morning. Reporters asked Biden about like what Kamala had said. Listen to what Biden says.
Has been cooperative. He said he's gotten all that he needs. I talked to him again yesterday, and I said, I said, no, you're doing a great job. It's all being done well. We thank you for it. And I literally gave my personal phone number to call.
So he's like, yeah, he's doing a great job.
It's at the point where I would rather hear Biden speak than Kamala, which is saying a lot for me because I can't fucking stand listening to Biden speak. But her like fake ass bullshit demeanor and her interviews, like Erin this morning, she's like, did you watch her on 60 Minutes yesterday? And I was like, nope, didn't want to. Like, I can only take so much of her. But it clearly she was too busy throwing back beers with Stephen Colbert on the Late Show to give a shit about the hurricane, because this was just last night. And like, side note, I used to think he was really funny like years ago until I found out he was like a total progressive whack job. But they did a show last night where they're just sitting there laughing and talking and drinking beer. And he asked her, you know, like her opinions about both Hurricane Milton coming in and then Helene. And she sat there and she basically lectured the Helene victims for believing what she called, quote, Republican disinformation, end quote, about FEMA. And she went into one of those, like, you know, we're the government and we're here to help you speeches. And it was so fucking tone deaf. And like, not to get off track, but she also did a guest interview with those heinous beasts from The View yesterday. And they were asking her like what she would do differently from Biden. And her response was, quote, not a thing comes to mind, end quote. Like, can she not even remember her own fucking campaign lies?
I don't know if it was Trump or like Team Trump, but one of them posted she just lost the election because her whole thing, the whole campaign is supposed to be how she's different and whatever, like way forward. I'm going to be the change. And then she says that, like, what a fucking dumbass, you know?
Not a thing comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, just it's like she had so much spite in her, you know, and to say that, like, to blame the victims is insane. What happened to victim shaming, you know, that the left always cries about. And where was I going with this? I was going to say something else about that, and now I just completely lost it. But yeah, I feel like every move she makes is just showing her true colors. Oh, I know what I was going to say. On TikTok, there was some viral post. This girl, as far as I know, she's been banned on social media at this point, but it was some young girl. And when she heard about North Carolina, she was like cheering it on because she's like, oh yeah, a bunch of racists are going to die.
My God.
And I am fully convinced these are the people supporting Kamala. It's not that they think she's great or they're full of hate and spite and this like wild ideology.
You mean joy? Joy?
Joy over people's misery, maybe. Like that seems to be the only time they actually show joy, like crazy ass people. But speaking of FEMA again, did you hear about this FEMA team meeting like call that was leaked?
Yeah, it was from last year.
Yeah. So I have like a little clip of it, and so typical, like exactly what you would expect from this DEI bureaucratic bullshit where their priorities are with the LGBTQ community and equity instead of just like simply helping people that are in need like they're supposed to. So here I have a little clip.
LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself.
You know, the shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity.
She just fucking admitted it.
Yeah, disaster.
Instead of helping
equity.
everyone, they've got to like take a step back and make sure the right people are being helped.
And that's why all the money is going to fucking illegal migrants.
I mean, how, again, like they just need to go in and freaking get rid of all of these agencies and start fresh. I mean,
clean house.
unbelievable.
Yeah, and another thing that that story I was telling you earlier, the happy feel good story. Well, another thing this guy Smith was talking about, he was saying like, I think I talked about this. I can't remember if it was Wednesday or Friday, but when they had to shut down all the rescue flights so Biden could come take his photo op. Well, guess who else did the same thing? Fucking Kamala. And they had to ground operations again so Kamala could do a flyover. But you know who didn't need to be in the limelight and shut down operations and stop all the volunteer efforts for a photo op? President Trump. And according to Smith, like Trump's team called and they asked if, they wanted Trump to come in, and they said, we'd love it, but we don't want any more flight restrictions. And Trump's team was like, cool, we'll wait. You just let us know when you want us to be there. Why? Because it's not about fucking Trump. It's about the American people. And I feel like just trying to end on a positive note here, like this group of people that came together, this to me is the prime example of what America is all about. Like Americans helping Americans in time of need, not relying on the government or waiting to be told what to do, and basically telling the Biden-Harris admin, like, fuck off, we don't need you. This is the foundation of the American spirit. And it's like, this shows me that no matter what the government throws at us, like this is the spirit that will prevail. And I know there's got to be more stories out there like this and more groups that are helping, all of these victims. And it's like, I don't know, it just made me feel like a fuck yeah feeling, like despite all the negativity and all the bullshit and everything shady and fucking crazy going on with our government and our weather and the purposeful destruction of our country, like I feel this is fucking America prevailing.
Oh my God, what a note to end on. I love it. I love it. I think you're right. I think everything kind of fell apart under Biden and Harris, but it can come back together because that's the American spirit, and we have people willing to do that and willing to help one another. And in the end, like I strongly believe that good will prevail. And this is just another example of that.
Yeah.
So good note to end on. And we probably won't have a podcast on Friday because I probably won't have power. And even if I do, and I'm okay, I need to go like help other people.
Yeah.
So we'll just plan on coming back on Monday. And like I said, I will try to post on TikTok. I'll try to text you, Tara, keep you updated. And yeah, everyone just send lots of positive thoughts to the state of Florida. We really need it. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back here on Monday.